Welcome, everyone, to this episode of After the Blog. I want to welcome you back and welcome a guest to the show today. Angelica Faber is here. I did get your last name correct, didn't I?
Either way, it's fine.
Is it Faber or Faber?
So we've been saying favor and we've been saying it wrong all the time because when we went to Austria, we discovered it is Faber. So you're actually correct.
I did a good job. So Angelica was actually on a recent episode of the Microsoft Security Insights show where she showcased, which I absolutely love, and talked about some solutions she has built using generative AI or Chat GPT. I think everyone knows it by that, with Microsoft Sentinel. In fact, I was off that week on vacation. I came back just for that show because it was so interesting to me, that topic is. But as part of that, I believe there were some outstanding questions. Obviously, this show is called After the Blog because we're trying to answer those types of questions. And those open-ended questions actually led to a couple different blog posts of mine that I wrote. One of them was preparing the SOC for generative AI, and the other was on like my current thoughts on using AI with a modern SIM or SIEM, however you pronounce that. So that's why Angelica is here. Right. So she's the brain. I invited her to be the brain that can help us resolve those questions, at least in my mind. Right. You'll be able to find the links to Angelica's Microsoft Security Insights show episode in the show notes, along with those two blog posts. But let's start first with Angelica. Angelica, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I know you probably introduce yourself to Microsoft partners and customers literally all day long, but would you please do it for us one more time? Who are you and what do you do at Microsoft?
So I'm a security architect with the GPS. Now it's America's team. It used to be US and now it's America's. And GPS is Global Partner Solutions. So I work exclusively with partners. Most of those are MSSPs. And so that's managed security service providers. And I help them build their security services, mostly around Sentinel, but also Defender 365 and Defender for Cloud. I do also work with some ISVs, like ISVs that publish their solutions on Content Hub, on Sentinel's Content Hub. So that's my job in a nutshell.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you work with partners quite a bit. That's got to be pretty, I was going to say rewarding, obviously, interesting, probably sometimes entertaining, because I know some of our partners, and I love our partners. And they're just like a really great group of people.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was comparing it to like when you're the teacher and you get the gifted kids. Because they're the ones that have been on the field. They're the ones that ask the hard questions.
Oh boy,
yeah. And that was one of the conversations you and I were having. It's like, where does the inspiration come? And the truth of the matter is, a lot of what I write about is because I've gotten questions from partners. So, and then I'm curious about it myself, and so I go test it out.
Well, that's kind of interesting that you put it that way, because our partners are super intelligent, which means you have to be super intelligent. Again, you're the big brain. That's why you're here. I'm going to get some really good stuff out of this. People are going to love this. So I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I think that it's awesome when anyone can take time out of their day just to do silly things for me or with me. So thank you so much. Okay. So one of the bigger kind of open-ended questions that I had in my mind, was around how Microsoft Sentinel SOC, how a SOC, Security Operations Center, that uses Microsoft Sentinel. Obviously, this could be for other tools and products along those same lines as well, but how they can actually prepare for generative AI. So understandably, and I think a lot of customers have seen this already, everybody wants our co-pilots. When's Copilot? But I think at Microsoft, we've talked a lot about how our customers can prepare for our co-pilots like GitHub, Microsoft 365 Copilot's due soon, I think. But to be honest, I think we've been extremely quiet, maybe on purpose, I don't know, about what security customers can actually do to prepare for maybe not Copilot, because I think that's still a little bit ways off, security Copilot, but maybe just generative AI, right? So
Yep.
let's start there for a minute. So, Angelica, for our listeners, for those that are just kind of tuning in, what is generative AI and how can it be used in a security operations center, do you think?
Yeah, so generative AI is not really new. It's been around for a while. In fact, I was reading the first paper on neural networks, which is what generative AI is based on, was actually written in the 1940s. So it's definitely not new. And as you and I know, Microsoft has been using AI within our Microsoft Security Services for quite a while. Like within Sentinel, we have Fusion and UEBA. We even have within Defender 365 the automatic attack disruption. This uses AI. I think it's actually generative AI within some of those too. So it's, and for me personally, it's really an opportunity to, and the word has been used before, so this is not new, but for me, it's really an opportunity to augment the humans that are working at those security operations center. Because they really need it. I mean, if we know, you and I know that cybersecurity professionals, they suffer from burnout. We have also a lot of high turnover in some of those positions. So if there's an area that really needs help, an assistant, which I think is what I think I relate generative AI most to, being a really good assistant at everything. There's the area of cybersecurity is definitely, to me, one of the areas that needs it the most. So it's really an opportunity to help those humans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an assistant, what are some of the benefits of that? You've talked a little bit already. Being an assistant in a security operations center, what is that kind of? What do you think that looks like? I know based on the show, you showcase some of the things that you've been working on, which I think are super amazing that people need to go
Thanks.
back and take a look at. But what are some of those things that, as an assistant, it comes alongside and helps them with?
Yeah. So like the first one that I actually did was an integration where it actually went out to OpenAI, to Azure OpenAI specifically, to get help and to get like incident tasks, like a list of things that the SOC analyst can try to investigate something. And it also, and actually the fourth step was like a KQL query. So those are things that it really, and not just like a junior engineer, but even senior engineer can benefit from, because you need brainstorming. Sometimes you're like, it's Friday afternoon and it's the end of your shift and you're like, I'm tired, I can't think anymore. So you need like, some kind of brainstorming. Also, some of the other things that I showcased were reporting. We know that SOC analysts do not like writing reports. They love getting into the the details and whatever, but nobody likes writing a report about what happened or how it happened. So reporting, I think it's an area that I think it could help with. And ideally, it would be something that would, like take care of all those mundane activities so that they can focus on the things that they actually want to do. More rewarding type work. That's, hopefully what it would help with.
Yeah, so that, I absolutely love that. So there's, obviously some benefit to it. And I think as time goes on, I think customers, as they start using it, they're going to come up with some really unique things and ideas based on their environment anyway. But have you found, working with partners and potentially the customers of partners with some of this stuff, what are some of the challenges potentially for security operations centers using or wanting to use, I guess, generative AI?
Yeah, I think so. One is they're going to have to get approval to spend the money because it's not free. So just like any other type of functionality. They also have some privacy concerns, and I think that's where using Azure OpenAI specifically, I think addresses a lot of that. Because the fact of the matter is running within your subscription under your control. You can put in your, networking guardrails and things like that. So some of the challenges is I think initially is fear of the unknown too. A lot of people are like wondering how hard is this going to be for me to learn, and some adventurous stocks, they're jumping in at first, but others are a little bit more hesitant about that, and obviously the privacy concerns and getting it approved by legal and getting it approved by finance and all of that stuff. So those are some of the challenges that I have seen so far.
Yeah, and that's I think that's key. And then you see me here pulling out my notepad. The learning piece, right? So that's difficult, particularly when you think about anyone in IT or anyone in security. They're tasked with so much and they have so much to do. By the time, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, by the time 5 o'clock rolls around, they just want to get out the door.
Yeah.
Give me something or somebody to help me do my job so I can get home just a little bit sooner, or shut down and go to the other room for those that work remotely. So that is, yeah. So how do people learn that? Maybe that's an open-ended question we probably need to do on another show when we talk about AI and security and how to get that continuing learning and stuff like that, right? So here, getting more to the crux of what I want to talk about today. Here's something I thought about and put in my blog post. I'm sure there's probably more, and feel free to chime in because I'm always love to put extra bullet points for people to have additional knowledge. So feel free to inject where you think needs to be. But I want to get your take on these, how you feel these are important or unimportant potentially. How a Microsoft Sentinel customer might go about accomplishing these. Again, focusing on the Microsoft Sentinel piece, because we're talking about preparing for AI, right? Preparing for the Copilot. There's a long list of things. If you go to look for Microsoft 365 Copilot on Microsoft's Learn site, here's the things you need to do to prepare. Here's the licensing, blah, 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 blah. What can a Microsoft Sentinel customer do to prepare? Here's a couple things that I had. Configuring the incident tags to make sure that ChatGPT actually has enough information, right? So if you tag things specifically, it's a PowerShell issue, it's a whatever it happens to be. Another one I had was assigning specific incidents to specific analysts using automation rules, which I think is hugely important, something people should be doing anyway. But I think that's going to help from being able to prepare for AI. And what was the other? I had a couple others. Actually using the TI. Not a lot of people use the threat intelligence components of Sentinel, or at least use them effectively. And then practice gathering information to build better generative AI prompts. One of the things that really caught me during that episode that you're on for Microsoft Security Insight Show was the length of your prompts that you were sending to ChatGPT. I thought, oh my goodness, if I had to spend all day trying to figure that out myself, I would just give up.
It's true.
Yeah. So how are you doing that? Is that based on, again, as a big brain, is that based on your knowledge, or are you actually using AI to create those prompts?
Actually, the very first one I used, I have a ChatGPT Plus, and so yeah, I did use. You know what I did? I took the entire for the one for rubric. I took the entire documentation. I put it in, and I said, "Please summarize this." And so that's what I used because I had to fit it into the amount of tokens that I have.
Oh yeah.
For that calls, because there's a limit, and yeah, the limits keep going up, and there's like APIs now that allow you more, so I could probably fit in a little bit more now, but that's what I did initially to fit it in, and I think grounding, it's even though it's gone through the system prompt, grounding is so important, and it's something that like prompt engineering, grounding, and RAG, the retrieval augmented generation piece. Those are things that I think that need to be in, like, for SOC analysts and their to learn checklist, which is something that I recommend that they do to prepare And actually, to be honest with you, the best way that they can learn this is by playing with it. And maybe you can start with a solution. Like they are actually the partner that I worked with for that one, they already put a playbook already in the marketplace, so you can get this for free and start using it. So maybe starting with a solution like that is a good idea, so that you can get your feet wet. They don't need to learn prompt engineering to begin with, but it gets their gears running. By the way, going back to the tag,
Yeah.
you're using the tags to inform to send data back to Azure OpenAI. But another useful idea that you can use for tags is to measure the difference. Like, did this help reduce your MTTR? Did this affect your baseline for MTTI? For how long is it taking analysts to respond to this types of incidents that are actually where you're actually using Azure OpenAI, or any kind of generative AI in that matter, versus the ones that you're not. So maybe another thing that partners can do is like start setting some baselines, right? So that they can measure the before and after, and actually gather some information, especially like if you're starting with Azure OpenAI and maybe you want to graduate eventually to like Microsoft Security Copilot.
Yeah.
Probably, sharing some information here and there about how this little bit helped you become this much better. That's probably going to get you maybe approval from finance to actually go and purchase the other one.
Well, I think it's kind of important thing to highlight too. Again, going back to that learning component, learning this stuff, the prompts, the grounding, the RAG stuff. I think at Microsoft with our copilots, we're trying to make AI as turnkey and valuable as possible for our customers, but at the same time, you kind of have to understand what that thing is doing. So I think, yeah, that's super important. Speaking of Security Copilot, I have been thinking about this recently, knowing what I know about kind of things. Um, what do you think? And we'll kind of end on this here real quick. What do you think the future is of this stuff? If you had to look 5 years from now, do you think something like, let's just say Security Copilot, do you think, or AI in general, do you think that could actually replace a SIEM or SIM, however you want to pronounce it, or some of these other types of tools?
I don't think it can, or we'll see, but I don't think it can replace them completely. Both the people or like a SIEM type solution. I do think it's going to change the type of work that the people do. I think like everything in life, like we've gone through before, we didn't have computers, we didn't have calculators, right? So you're going to depend, I think we're going to eventually have jobs that are going to depend on having those tools helping us. It's going to make the type of work that these humans do that much more rewarding and much more, I guess it even mentally is going to make it easier for them to be able to go through their workday. Because some of these jobs are just mentally, they're very, very challenging. So I think for me, I'm a huge technology geek, and I'm a huge fan of generative AI. And this is not just like a guess, to be honest with you. I mean, we're seeing data from the developers that are using GitHub Copilot. And I read something that like 75% of them were reporting that they actually have they're able to focus on more satisfying work. That's a huge number, 75% of the ones that are using GitHub Copilot. So my expectations is that that's going to change SOC analysts as well.
Yeah,
That's my
so
hope.
that is a good number, and that is a good hope. And I think listeners have heard it here first. Angelica says that you can't get out of it. You must learn this AI stuff, because even in 5 years, it's not going to replace your current tools or even your jobs. So again, it's an assistant, right? Yeah.
The co-pilot.
She's nodding yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really all I wanted to cover today. I appreciate it, Angelica. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to do this. I know we all stay extremely busy, but it's always great to be able to engage with an audience or a larger set of customers and things like that. So how can people stay in touch with what you're working on? Obviously, you have a blog, or is there some other things that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have my blog, myfabersecurity.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn. And I'm open to connect with anybody. I'm pretty friendly, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I can attest to that. I would agree. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Any other parting words about this topic that we've been discussing? There's something that you absolutely must get across to listeners, something they absolutely must take away from this discussion.
Um, get on it.
Get on it.
Get on it. Get going. Don't even think about it. Just start. Actually, subscribe to Rod's
No,
newsletters, which I was
no.
telling him
Nobody
before.
cares about that stuff. No. Now you're just you're working hard to try to be asked back. I see.
It's actually it's a great way to keep up with all the changes because there are a lot of changes. So I understand there's a lot of information, but I think that if people get going and they get learning and they get testing, they're going to come up with their own ideas, and the future I think is very bright in this area. So
Yeah. Well, and it's not going away. I have heard hyperbole before. I kind of look at this, and I thought about this the past couple of days specifically. I don't know why. It's just sometimes you get stuck on an idea. This is very much like well, I tell you why I thought about this. Now that I think about it, I watched the announcement between Oracle and Microsoft yesterday. I don't know if anyone else caught this. Larry Ellison, his first visit to Microsoft yesterday, but he was very direct in talking about Oracle, how Oracle has kind of invested and made this business for on-premises databases. He said during that discussion yesterday, Oracle is going to work extremely hard to get those on-premises customers to migrate their Oracle databases to Azure, to the cloud. That's one of the first things I've ever heard from an Oracle person. No, we keep our Oracle stuff here. So this generative AI or quantum computing, whatever you want to call this whole conglomerate of technologies, I think we're at that point where that whole cloud discussion started years ago, right? Everybody kind of scoffed at it. Cloud, whatever. And now we're even at a point where Oracle is saying, hey, let's go to the cloud. I thought, oh my goodness. Thought hell had frozen over, but that's pretty cool. But I think this is one of those cases, and for those just kind of getting into technology or who have been here for a while looking for the next big thing, this is not going away. So that learning aspect, I think, is super important.
yeah, absolutely, 100% agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was at Oracle for 20 years, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there you go. I used to work on Oracle. The Oracle connection to the database was, you had to be a master at that. Again, you worked at Oracle. That's where that big brain comes from. I can tell that already. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Angelica. And we will talk to everyone next episode.